Most people defend who they are. They protect their weaknesses because it feels familiar. Someone criticizes them. They justify. Someone challenges them. They defend. Someone suggests they need to change. They resist. Not because they're right, because changing feels like dying. And it is. Every identity you've built is a structure, a framework, a story you tell yourself about who you are. I'm the loyal one. I'm the understanding one. I'm the one who always helps. These aren't just descriptions. They're defenses against the discomfort of change, against the uncertainty of becoming something different. So you protect them, even when they hurt you, even when they limit you, even when they keep you trapped. Because familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar transformation. Identity becomes a prison disguised as personality. Think you're being authentic, staying true to yourself, honoring who you are. But what you are actually doing is refusing to evolve. You've confused identity with truth, as if who you are right now is final, complete, unchangeable. But it's not. It's just the version of you that survived until now. The version built through adaptation, through trauma, through conditioning. And survival strategies are not the same as authentic self. They're just what you had to become to make it through. But most people never question that. Never ask if the person they became out of necessity is the person they want to remain. They just defend it, protect it, call it identity, and stay stuck. Comfort is not safety. It is stagnation. You feel safe in your current identity because it's predictable, known, manageable. But that safety is an illusion. Because staying the same in a changing world is not safety. It's slow death. The world moves. Circumstances shift. What worked before stops working. And if you're too attached to who you were, you can't adapt to what's required now. So you suffer. Not because life is unfair, because you refuse to change. You keep applying old strategies to new problems. Keep being the same person in situations that demand someone different. And you wonder why nothing works. The answer is simple. Your old self is obsolete. And until you're willing to let it die, you'll stay trapped in patterns that no longer serve you. Growth requires internal destruction. Nietzsche understood something most people refuse to accept. You cannot become something new while clinging to something old. Real transformation is not addition. It's replacement. You don't add strength to weakness. You destroy the weakness and rebuild. You don't add confidence to insecurity. You dismantle the insecurity entirely. You don't improve your old self. You kill it and construct a new one. The individual must confront their own weakness, not excuse it, not justify it, not make peace with it. Confront it. See it clearly. Understand where it came from. Recognize what it's costing you, and then destroy it, not through shame, through clarity. You're not weak because you're broken. You're weak because you've protected weakness. You've made it part of your identity, given it a story, a reason, a justification. And as long as that story exists, the weakness remains. You cannot evolve while protecting your old beliefs. Every belief you hold is a boundary, a limit, a framework that defines what you think is possible. I'm not the type of person who does that. I could never be like them. That's just not who I am. Those beliefs feel true, but they're not. They're just conclusions you drew based on limited experience. And they're keeping you small, because evolution requires you to step outside those beliefs, to test them, to break them, but most people won't, because their beliefs are their identity. And challenging their beliefs feels like challenging their existence. So they stay locked inside frameworks that were built years ago by a younger, less capable version of themselves, and they wonder why they can't grow. The ego resists transformation. Your ego is not your friend. It's your protector, and its job is to keep you safe, consistent, predictable. So when transformation threatens that consistency, the ego fights back. It tells you change is dangerous, that you're fine as you are, that people who change are fake. It creates fear, doubt, resistance, all to keep you the same, because the ego doesn't care about growth. It cares about survival. And survival, to the ego, means staying exactly as you are. So if you want to transform, you have to go against your ego. You have to accept the discomfort, the fear, the uncertainty. You have to be willing to feel like you're dying. Because you are. The old version of you is dying, and the new one hasn't formed yet. That in-between state is terrifying, but it's necessary. Because you can't become someone new without letting the old self go. The need for approval must die. As long as you need other people's validation, you're controlled by them. You shape yourself to fit their expectations. You suppress what they won't accept. You perform what they reward. And in doing so, you abandon yourself. The version of you that needs approval is weak, not because wanting connection is weak, but because needing external confirmation to feel valid is slavery. And that version must die, not through isolation, through self-sufficiency. You stop asking for permission, stop seeking reassurance, stop needing people to confirm you're on the right path. You just decide and move. The emotional dependency must die, the part of you that can't function without certain people. That falls apart when relationships end. That needs constant connection to feel stable. That dependency is not love, it's weakness, and it keeps you trapped in dynamics that don't serve you. Because you're too afraid to be alone, too afraid to lose access, too afraid to risk the discomfort of independence. So you tolerate, you compromise, you stay small. And that version of you must die, not by becoming cold, by becoming complete, by building a self that's whole without external support, that can stand alone without crumbling. The fear of isolation must die. Most people avoid transformation because it isolates them. When you change, you outgrow people, outgrow environments, outgrow versions of yourself that others were comfortable with. And that creates distance, loneliness, the feeling of being misunderstood. Most people can't handle that, so they stay the same to stay connected. But that fear is what keeps them weak. Because real strength is built in isolation, in the space where no one is watching, where no one is validating, where it's just you and the choice to become better. And if you can't handle being alone with yourself, you'll never become strong. The version of you built for survival must be replaced. Everything you are right now was built to survive your past, your defensiveness, your people-pleasing, your withdrawal, your aggression. All survival strategies, all adaptations to environments that no longer exist, but you're still using them, still operating as if the threats are the same. They're not. And that outdated version of you is holding you back. It needs to die. Not violently. Deliberately. You acknowledge what it did for you, the role it played, the protection it offered, and then you let it go. Because what got you here won't get you further. Strength is built in psychological solitude, not loneliness. Solitude, the deliberate choice to step back, to withdraw from noise, to stop seeking external input, and to sit with yourself. Most people can't do this, because sitting with themselves forces them to confront what they've been avoiding. Their weakness, their patterns, their fears, so they stay distracted, surrounded, constantly engaged, and they never develop real strength. Because strength is not built in comfort. It's built in the discomfort of facing yourself without distraction. When you detach from validation, clarity sharpens. As long as you're seeking approval, your perception is distorted. You see things through the lens of what others will think, what they'll accept, what they'll reward. But when you stop caring, when you genuinely detach from external validation, that lens disappears, and you see clearly what you actually want, what actually matters, what's actually true, not what you've been told to want, what you actually want. And that clarity is power, because now your decisions aren't contaminated by fear of judgment, by need for approval. They're just yours. You stop reacting. You start choosing. Reaction is automatic, survival-based, unconscious. Someone criticizes you. You defend. Someone challenges you. You resist. Someone leaves you. You collapse. All reactions, all programmed. But in solitude, you break that programming. You learn to pause, to observe, to decide. Instead of reacting to criticism, you evaluate it. Instead of resisting challenge, you consider it. Instead of collapsing when someone leaves, you let them. Not because you're cold, because you're in control. And control, real control, is the foundation of power. You no longer explain yourself. The old version of you needed people to understand, needed to justify every decision, needed approval before acting. The new version doesn't. Not because you're arrogant, because you're certain. You've done the work, made the decision, accepted the cost, and other people's understanding is irrelevant. You no longer seek permission. Permission is what children need, what dependent people need, but you're neither. You don't ask if it's okay to set boundaries. You set them. You don't ask if people will accept your choices. You make them. You don't wait for the right moment. You create it. Because waiting for permission is waiting for someone else to grant you authority over your own life. And that authority was always yours. You move with internal authority, not the loud kind, the quiet kind. You don't announce your power. You embody it. You don't demand respect. You command it through presence. You don't explain why you're right. You're just unmoved by being questioned. Because your authority doesn't come from external validation. It comes from internal certainty. And that certainty is unshakable. The new self does not beg. It decides. The old you begged for attention, for approval, for people to stay. The new you doesn't. Not because you don't value connection, because you value yourself more. You decide who gets access, who deserves effort, who stays, and you're fine with people choosing differently, because you're no longer desperate, no longer dependent, no longer afraid. You're just clear. And clarity is the most dangerous thing you can possess. Because people can't manipulate what they can't confuse, can't control what they can't destabilize, can't exploit what won't compromise. Most people try to improve themselves. They read books, attend seminars, adopt habits, and they get marginally better. But they never transform. Because transformation doesn't come from addition, it comes from destruction. Very few are willing to destroy themselves first, to kill the parts that feel like identity, to let go of beliefs that feel like truth, to burn down structures that feel like safety. But that destruction is necessary, because you can't build something new on a rotten foundation. You have to clear it completely and start over. And that process is violent, uncomfortable, lonely. But it's the only way. Your old self must die. Not improved, not adjusted, not modified, dead. And from that death, something stronger emerges, not by accident, by design, because you chose it.